Up first, I think the Red Sox are going to add multiple relievers. With Kenley Jansen and Chris Martin on their way out, they're going to need to replenish this bullpen a little bit. And first and foremost, they need to add a lefty to this bullpen. The only option they have as of right now is Brennan Bernardino. Their left-handed relief pitching this past year was not very good, so they're going to need to add something here. Now, Tanner Scott, I think he's going to be too expensive. This guy has pitched great over the last couple of years, and he would check off a couple of boxes for the Red Sox, one being he's a lefty, and two, he would be great insurance for Liam Hendriks, who has missed a lot of time over the last couple of years. I would imagine there's going to be a little bit of rust with him when he comes back. So having someone like Tanner Scott at the back end of the bullpen would be very good for the Red Sox. I just don't know if they're going to want to spend the money. Could you go after someone like Aroldis Chapman? Had a pretty good year with the Pirates. I don't know, though. I think the Red Sox, considering they ranked very well in walks per nine with their relief pitching this year, and they're just very big on throwing strikes. Aroldis Chapman has had issues throwing strikes, so I feel like they might want to stay away from him. Maybe someone like AJ Minter. This is a guy that's been very good over the last few years, but he had some injuries this year. Didn't have an amazing year overall. The FIP was higher at a 4.45 compared to the ERA at a 2.62. But because of the injuries, I could see him being a buy low kind of a guy. I could see the Red Sox, Craig Breslow, seeing good value here. So I think he's very possible. If not him, maybe someone like Caleb Ferguson. The advanced metrics outweighed the surface numbers. FIP at a 3.74 compared to the ERA at a 4.64. Maybe someone like Caleb Thielbar. This is a guy a couple of years ago had a pretty good year. He's had his ups and downs over the last couple of years, but the advanced metrics are pretty good with him. So maybe someone like him. Now, with the Red Sox, though, I think in the end, they're going to have to add a lefty to this bullpen. But like I said earlier, with Liam Hendriks and Tanner Scott, I think you're going to have to add some insurance to the back end of this bullpen. Now, you do have a few options internally already. Justin Slayton had a great year this past year with the Red Sox, and you got a couple of guys who were on the IL this past year, Garrett Whitlock and Michael Fulmer. Garrett Whitlock, we know what he can do in the bullpen when he's healthy. He was amazing in 2021. However, he's had a lot of injuries over the last couple of years. I think they're going to move forward with him as a reliever instead of trying him out in the rotation yet again. That's where he's been getting his injuries for the most part. So Garrett Whitlock, if he's healthy, I would imagine he's going to have a pretty big role in the bullpen. And don't forget about Michael Fulmer, an under-the-radar signing last offseason. He was out this entire past year, but Michael Fulmer, this is a guy that's had a lot of success in the bullpen in the last few years. So I would expect if he's healthy, he's going to have a pretty decent role in this bullpen as well. But if you were to add something else, I think there are some options out there. Someone like Blake Trinan, this is a guy that could set up, close. He had a great year with the Dodgers this year after missing all of 2023. Just helped them win a World Series as well. He's also getting up there in age, so I would imagine he's not going to be requiring any kind of a long-term deal, maybe a 1-year, 2-year deal tops. So Blake Trinan, I think, would be a great add. And I don't think he's going to be all that expensive either. If not him, maybe you could go with someone like Carlos Estevez. I would imagine he's going to be looking for at least a 2-year deal, maybe a 3-year deal. But if it is on the shorter end, I could see him being an option. He doesn't have a long track record of being a closer. I think he could either close or set up at this point, but he was very good for the Angels and the Phillies this past year. Another guy I could see the Red Sox taking a look at is Paul Sewald. This guy's had a lot of success as a closer over the last few years. However, this year he had a pretty bad second half. He had injuries as well. He lost the closer job to Justin Martinez, but Paul Sewald, I feel like if you get him back on track, he could be very effective in the bullpen. Up next, I have the Red Sox trading Masataka Yoshida. Now, I love Masa. I think he's a really solid bat, and even though he missed some time this year, 108 games played, he still did very well. Hit 280 with a 349 on base, a 415 on the slugging, a 115 WRC plus. But the problem with Yoshida is he's very limited. He's really just a DH at this point, and he's a light hitting DH. As you can see here, 10 homers over the 108 games. I think you need a bit more power in the DH spot, and I think the Red Sox need to unload some lefties here. You have a lot of lefties, and I think you need to add a right-handed bat or two to this lineup. So I just don't think Yoshida really fits very well here in the lineup. Now, the problem with Yoshida is he's owed a lot of money over the next few years. As you can see here, $18.6 million owed for each of the next 3 seasons. So with the Red Sox, they're probably going to have to eat some of that contract, and they're probably going to have to eat maybe even a little bit more because he did just get shoulder surgery injury this offseason, so it could be tricky to move him, especially with the injury. But I think in the end, the Red Sox will find a way to get it done. Like I said, the bat is still solid. He will help a lineup out there, especially teams that need bats. Maybe some teams like the Pittsburgh Pirates that could really use some offense there. Maybe you could even get creative, maybe take on a contract out there for a team trying to unload, and maybe they could take on a cheaper contract with Yoshida. I think you will see Craig try to find a way to unload him, and I think in the end, he will be on another team in 2025. Up next, I also think the Red Sox trade Wilyer Abreu. Now, Wilyer Abreu had a great year with the Red Sox. He is definitely going to get some Rookie of the Year votes. Hit .253 with a .322 on base, a .459 slugging, a .114 WRC plus, 15 homers. Also, great defense in the outfield. One of the better defenders in all of Major League Baseball in the outfield this year. I think Abreu is going to be a very solid player. But like I said earlier with Yoshida, you got a lot of left-handed bats. It's not just Yoshida. It's not just Abreu. But you got Durant, Devers, Casas. A lot of lefties in this lineup. The Red Sox are going to look to balance out this lineup. They're going to add at least one right-handed bat, maybe even two. So I think out of all these guys, Yoshida and Abreu are the most expendable, especially when you got a guy like Roman Anthony, the #1 prospect in all of Major League Baseball, according to Baseball America, knocking on the door. I think it's very possible he could win a job with the Red Sox on opening day next year. He is that good. He had a very good year in the minor leagues this year. Now, the problem with Abreu, even though I do think he's going to be solid, right now he is not doing great against left-handed pitching, while Roman Anthony does well against righties and lefties. So I think Anthony has the higher ceiling. Now, that's not a knock against Abreu by any means. I think he has a lot of value, and I think you can use that value to improve other aspects of the team. He's still young, only 25 years old, like I said, had the good season. Yeah, you could definitely use Abreu as part of a package to maybe land some pitching for the rotation. I definitely think you could see that happening. Maybe someone like Garrett Crochet, maybe you could use Abreu and a few prospects attached to him to land someone like Garrett Crochet. I mean, he would be a huge boost for the Red Sox rotation. My goodness, he had a great breakout year this year. There's also someone like Andrew Abbott on the Reds. The Reds, they struggled offensively this year. Wilyer Abreu, I think, would be a nice add. Now, Andrew Abbott, he had a good year in 2023, took a bit of a step back this year. ERA was okay at a 3.72, but the FIP was over a 5, as you can see here with the home runs per 9, 1.63 home runs per 9. So they're going to have to improve something there. The strikeouts went down this year, but the Red Sox, they've done a great job over the last year getting a lot out of pitchers, so maybe they could do something here with Andrew Abbott. I think he would be a decent addition to the rotation, or maybe you could turn to a team like the Pittsburgh Pirates. They could use a bat. Maybe someone like Jared Jones, a very young, electric pitcher. I think he would be an amazing addition. Now, I don't think the Pirates would trade Jared Jones at this point. Yeah, you got Paul Skeens, Mitch Keller, but Jared Jones, I mean, I think he's going to be very good. He had a great rookie season this year, but maybe you could do Abreu, maybe also attach a prospect or two to land someone like Jared Jones. In the end, though, I think Abreu will be used as a trade piece to land a big piece for the rotation. Up next, I have the Red Sox signing Teoscar Hernandez. Now, speaking of right-handed bats, I think Teoscar Hernandez would be absolutely perfect for the Red Sox. Now, go back to last offseason. They were in negotiations at one point, and it looked like there was momentum building towards a deal, but in the end, they couldn't agree on a contract, ended up taking a one-year deal with the Dodgers to bet on himself, and boy, oh boy, did that work out for him. He had a great year. Hit .272 with a .339 on base, a .501 slugging, a .134 WRC plus, 33 home runs, came up big in the postseason to help the Dodgers win the World Series, also won the Home Run Derby. A great year for Teoscar Hernandez. Now, another thing with Teoscar is he's always hit well at Fenway Park, has great numbers in his career at Fenway. He's talked a lot about how much he enjoys playing at Fenway Park. I think the Red Sox need to revisit these talks, and they need to get this guy signed up. Up next, I think the Red Sox move Rafael Devers to more of a DH role, and they acquire a right-handed hitting third baseman. Now, this is very bold, and I think out of all of these predictions, this is by far the least likely to happen, but hear me out here. Now, with Rafi, we all know how good the bat is. Another great year this year. Hit .272 with .354 on base, a .516 slugging, a .134 WRC plus, 28 homers, one of the best bats in the game. But the problem with Rafi is the defense. As you can see see here, out of all the qualified third basemen over the last couple of years, he ranks dead last in defense. Negative 5.7 on the defense, negative 14 outs above average, negative 10 on the fielding run value. And like I said earlier, the Red Sox are looking to add some more right-handed bats. Yeah, I think Teoscar Hernandez would fit well here. You can play him in the outfield. He can DH as well, especially if Yoshida gets moved. Sure, could you trade Tristan Casas, and that could open up a spot for, maybe someone like a Christian Walker, maybe someone like a Pete Alonso. But I think at this point, keeping Tristan Casas is probably the better idea. He's still very young. I think he has a bright future, and he was injured this year, so his trade value has gone down. So I think in the end, keeping Tristan Casas is the right move. So I think the most logical thing is to move Devers to more of a DH role. I think you can play some third base here and there, maybe give a guy a day off here and there, but I think at this point, Devers, the bat, is what you're paying him for. That's where he brings the value. So if the Red Sox were to go out and get a third baseman, you can go to free agency, maybe someone like Alex Bregman. He would cost a lot, no doubt about it. Now, taking a look at the numbers this year, he hit 260, a 315 on base, a 453 on the slugging, a 118 WRC plus, 26 homers. Now, Bregman, these numbers have gone down a little bit from what we've seen in the past, but at Fenway Park, as you can see here, he would use the monster, I think, very well. We see a lot of outs here that would have gone for hits at Fenway Park. I think Bregman would be a great fit at Fenway. Now, another guy, I think this is a bit more funky. I think you got someone like Nolan Arenado out there. The Cardinals are looking to cut some payroll. With Arenado, he's got 3 more years left on his contract. Now, over the next couple of years, he is getting paid a lot, but in the final year of his contract, he's only getting paid $15 million. So if the Red Sox were to keep him for the next couple of years, he would be a lot easier to trade away in the final year of his deal. And like I said with Bregman, Arenado, I think, would also benefit a lot at Fenway Park. Now, as you can see here, also a lot of outs that would go for hits or maybe even home runs. So I think you would see a resurgence in these numbers with Arenado. Now, with Bregman and Arenado, they would also improve the plate discipline within the lineup. The Red Sox had a problem with the strikeouts last year, so they would definitely help out in that department. But, of course, the defense. Both of them are very good defensively. I think they would be good upgrades. But in the end, I'm going to say here that the Red Sox will move Devers to more of a DH role and improve the defense at third base. And last but not least, I have the Red Sox signing Max Fried. Now, I know a lot of people out there think Fried is going to go back to the West Coast because he's originally from California, but when I think of the teams out there, I question the fits. Now, the Dodgers are the first team that comes to mind, coming off a World Series championship, and Jack Flaherty is going into free agency, but they got a lot of pitching as is. Shohei Ohtani going back into the rotation in 2025. You got Yamamoto, you got Glasnow, Tony Gonsolin, Dustin May are going to be back, Emmett Sheehan is going to be back as well. And when you think back to the Dodgers spending on pitching, minus last year with Yamamoto and Glasnow, they really haven't given out big contracts for pitchers. So I wonder how motivated they would be to go after Max Fried. Now, if they do, that would be just a ridiculous rotation. Can you imagine that? Ohtani, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Fried is your 4. I mean, my goodness, that is just ridiculous. But I just wonder how motivated the Dodgers would be. I think they might want to go, maybe with a cheaper option and start to see what these younger guys can do, especially Gonsolin, coming back, and Dustin May. Now, there is a team like the Padres. Joe Musgrove just got Tommy John. They could definitely use a replacement in the rotation, but you got to think back with the Padres last offseason. They were trying to cut payroll, so what are their motivations going to be like this offseason? Now, you got the Giants. Blake Snell is a free agent. Who knows if he's going to be coming back, but even if he doesn't, you already got a lot of guys here. Robbie Ray, you're going to have him back for a full season this year. So you got Webb, Ray, Hicks, Harrison. You got some younger guys as well. I could see the Giants going after, more cheaper guys out there, and they just did have a lot of front office turnover, so I just wonder how motivated they would be. Now, in the American League, you got a team like the Angels. I mean, yeah, they could definitely use an improvement in the rotation. They had a terrible pitching staff last year, but would Max Fried want to go to the Angels with how bad they've been? I think this is a great opportunity for the Red Sox to be aggressive, to add someone to the top of the rotation to go alongside Tanner Houck. I think a 1-2 punch of Houck and Fried would be fantastic. And when it comes to Fried, he's been very reliable over the last several years, helped the Braves win a championship back in 2021, and he had another great season this year. 29 starts, ERA at a 3.25, FIP at a 3.33. But I feel like the Red Sox could get even more out of him. If you go take a look at his pitch values, they were a little down compared to the last couple of years. I think with how heavily the Red Sox have invested into the pitching analytics within their organization ever since Craig came into the fold, along with bringing in Andrew Bailey, I feel like they could have Fried even take a step forward. Now, if you don't get Fried, if he does end up going to the West Coast, you got a few other options out there. Blake Snell is going to be out there. He had an amazing second half after a dreadful first half. Who knows how interested the Red Sox would be in Blake Snell. We'll see. Now, Sean Manaea, I could see him being a realistic option. He's going to be cheaper than Fried, but this is a guy that can be a workhorse in the rotation. 32 starts this year with the Mets, over 180 innings ERA at a 3.47, FIP at a 3.83. Now, with Manaea, when you take a look at the approach he had this year, he threw a lot less four-seam fastballs, went more with the sinker, a very similar approach to what the Red Sox were doing this year. They leaned away from the four-seamers and they went with the strengths of the pitchers. So I could see Manaea being a pretty decent fit. Maybe someone like Yusei Kikuchi, if they wanted to add a lefty here. He was pretty solid this year with the Blue Jays and the Astros. Now, if you wanted to go with a righty out there, Jack Flaherty, I just mentioned him earlier. He had a pretty solid season, just helped the Dodgers win a World Series. So there will be options out there, but I'm going to go with the Red Sox landing Max Fried, and also one of his good buddies, Lucas Giolito, is on the Red Sox as well. I think that could help, maybe even if it's just a little bit. But everyone, those are my predictions. Tell me what you think down below in the comments. Tell me your predictions. What do you think the Red Sox are going to do this offseason? But everyone, that's all I got for right now. If you can on the way out, hit that like button for me and subscribe if you're new. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers here. We're getting very close. We're within 200. So help us get to 1K subscribers. But everyone, that's all I got for right now. I'll talk to you next time.